What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing my updated 2024 Senate election prediction, where I'll be analyzing all the states, the 34 seats up for re-election. So to begin with, first, please subscribe, like the video, and comment, and share this video with a friend. So there are going to be 34 seats up for re-election. Republicans already have the advantage of 38 to 28 Democrats. And we're going to be analyzing and filling in each of the Senate seats based off of what I think, as well as using some sort of polls and data that we have currently. Although in a lot of states there is not too much polls, so we're going to go off of mostly my personal prediction. So to begin with, we're going to name all the Democrat seats that would go by either 12 points or more, starting with Washington, California, Hawaii. We're going to have Minnesota. And in Minnesota, the reason why it's 12 points or more is because Amy Klobuchar is an extremely popular incumbent. And in 2018, she blew her opponent out of the water. So there's no scenario in my mind that I think that Minnesota will be under 12 points for Amy Klobuchar. Anyways, we're going to go up the East Coast now. All these states are going to be safe Democrat. New York, and then Maine. Maine has an independent, but Angus King caucuses with the Democrats. And that'll be all the safe Democrat seats. For Republicans: Utah, Wyoming, North Dakota, Nebraska's special election, Missouri, Indiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, and our first flip, which is West Virginia. Senator Joe Manchin is running for re-election. Is not running for re-election, and the popular governor, the Republican governor, is running and will beat his Democratic challenger. And we don't really know who it is right now because they really don't have anyone to replace Manchin with, and it's such a deep red state. Next, for the likely Democrat states, we have a couple. We have, starting with New Mexico, we're going to have Virginia and Maryland. The reason why I put Maryland in the likely column is because the popular former governor of Maryland, the Republican governor, is running for Senate, and in the polls, he actually is leading all of his candidates. If we scroll down here, he leads Angela Alsobrooks, and he leads David Trone by quite a little bit in some of these polls. And at the end of the day, I don't think the Republican in Maryland is going to win the election. I think it'll be a lot closer, between 7 to 12%. But I think eventually whoever one of these candidates will be, because the Democrats don't know yet, it will be between Alsobrooks and Trone. So whoever it is, I think will end up beating Larry Hogan. But it will go down in the likely column. For the likely Republican states, two main ones, Texas and Florida. Florida especially has shifted very far to the right over the past couple years. There hasn't been much polling at all in Florida, but Rick Scott, in the latest poll released actually last week, has him up by a considerable amount, 45 to 38, and he will end up winning by a likely state. Same thing with Senator Ted Cruz. Although Ted Cruz is very unpopular, he's facing against an extremely overrated candidate, Colin Allred, and he's going to be on the ballot with Donald Trump. And surprisingly, Donald Trump is performing very well in the polls in Texas, up by almost 9% on average. In 2018, Ted Cruz barely won. This is one of the closest Senate races in a long, long time, in decades, winning by only 2%. But in the polls against Colin Allred in 2024, Ted Cruz is actually performing fairly well. In the latest poll, he leads by 9. In the previous one, he leads by 6. I expect Ted Cruz to win by around 7 points, barely putting it in the likely column, about in line with about in Florida. On the presidential level, I expect Donald Trump to win a little bit more than Ted Cruz, but they won't be fairly too off, since split ticket voting is very, very unpopular nowadays, which will lead me into my predictions into a lot of these other states. These are the states remaining, and these are the states that are going to decide the election. That will lead me into Pennsylvania, and I put Pennsylvania right now in the lean Democrat column. The very popular incumbent, Bob Casey, trounced his opponent in 2018, winning by 13%. This time around, I expect him to win by a lot less, since it is going to be a presidential year. In the last presidential year he was in, he won by around 9 points, and Pennsylvania was a lot bluer back then. This time around, Pennsylvania is going to be won by a very close margin on the presidential race, and I expect Bob Casey to outrun Joe Biden by a few percentage points at least, leading me into putting Pennsylvania into the lean Democrat column. Shifting over to Wisconsin, Wisconsin right now is going to be in the lean Democrat column. Incumbent Senator Tammy Baldwin had won in 2018 by around 11 percentage points, but polls in 2024 so far have it at a very close race, having her only up by 3 points in the latest poll, leading me to put Wisconsin in the lean Democrat column. The rest of these states are going to decide who has control of the Senate. Republicans are already at 50 Senate seats, which means that if they win the presidency, the vice president will be the breaking tie vote in giving the Republicans the majority. Starting west to east in Nevada. In Nevada in 2018, Jackie Rosen won on a 5-point win, defeating the incumbent Republican Dean Heller in a very good performance for Democrats, especially during a blue wave year. In 2024, I expect this to be a very close race, and whoever wins will win by a tilt margin. Currently, I have the incumbent Jackie Rosen defeating the Republican by a tilt margin. And if we check the polls in Nevada, currently it is a very close race, but every poll does have Sam Brown trailing slightly. I will point out, though, that there are a lot of undecided still. The latest Emerson College poll has 21% undecided. The Noble Predictive Insights latest poll has 24% undecideds. And Sam Brown always usually trails in these polls by a very small margin. Jackie Rosen is only at 41%, 40% in the latest polls. So whoever grabs the rest of these undecided voters will clinch this victory. And currently, I think Democrats will do so in Jackie Rosen. Same thing in Arizona. Arizona, I think, is going to be a Democrat hold. The incumbent Senator Kyrsten Sinema switched to an independent and then dropped out of the race. And so I think that the Republican who is running, Kari Lake, against Ruben Gallego, is going to be a very close race like Nevada. But Kari Lake is very divisive among independents and some Democrats, which will halt them a lot from voting for her. She definitely can unite the Trump side of Arizona, the Trump Republicans, but will struggle in bringing in a lot of those McCain-type independents. Ruben Gallego is also very far left, but not as well known. Keeping in mind, there's also a lot of undecideds in a lot of these polls, and every single prediction model has it as a toss-up race. Currently, I do think that it is going to be a tilt Democrat race, but this could change with more polling and information that we gather since we are still 6 months away from the election. All right, now going to Montana. Incumbent Democrat Senator Jon Tester is seeking a fourth term as the senator of Montana, being able to clinch a lot of his previous races by very small margins. In 2018, he was able to beat Matt Rosendale by around less than 4%. And in 2024, he's facing against Tim Sheehy, a very popular figure in Montana, and one that I think will defeat the incumbent Senator Jon Tester. And there hasn't been much polling, but in the last poll, Tim Sheehy did pull ahead of Jon Tester, receiving a lot of those undecideds that were very pronounced in the previous Emerson College poll. I think since this is a presidential year, Donald Trump will be on the ballot, and Donald Trump will win the state by 15 to 20 points. It is very hard for the incumbent Jon Tester to be able to outrun Donald Trump by that much, keeping Montana in the tilt Democrat column. Moving on to Michigan. Michigan is going to be an open election since the incumbent is announcing her retirement. Popular Senator Elisa Slotkin will most likely be run against Mike Rogers, endorsed by Donald Trump. And currently in the polls, there are a lot of undecideds, but it is a very close race. The latest two having Elisa Slotkin only up 1 and 2 percentage points. So this will definitely be a very close race, and it is important to analyze where these undecideds will go. Currently, I do have this race tilting in the Democrats' favor, which will put them at 48 seats. Moving on to probably the most important Senate race in this election cycle, Ohio. Democratic incumbent seeking a fourth term, Sherrod Brown, is running for re-election, and he will be facing against the Republican Bernie Moreno. Bernie Moreno, as endorsed by Donald Trump, was able to defeat his Republican challengers in the primary by getting over 50% of the vote It was supposed to be a very close race, but Bernie Moreno was able to outperform expectations and win by over 50% of the popular vote. In 2018, Sherrod Brown was able to defeat the Republican James B. Renacci by 6 percentage points. And in 2024, the polls currently have Sherrod Brown up in every single poll, but these were before the primary elections, and there has not been much polling at all since after the primaries, indicating a lack of data to currently tell us what the state of the race is. But given that Donald Trump will win Ohio by possibly over 10 percentage points, it is hard to see ticket splitting that will occur that much in this election. And I will narrowly give it to Moreno by less than a couple percentage points, putting it in the tilt column. Given Ohio's extreme rightward trend over the past couple decades, it is hard to see Sherrod Brown being able to pull off yet another win in an increasingly Republican state, where he is the last statewide office holder that is a Democrat. Anyways, to finish this off, Republicans will have 52 Senate seats as of now. Democrats will have 48. Republicans will flip 3 seats, West Virginia, Ohio, and Montana. And Democrats will hold on to Nevada, Arizona, and Michigan by very, very narrow margins. There is a best case scenario in which Republicans could pick up these 3 seats where they reach 55 seats, but that is very unlikely in my eyes. And currently, this is where the map stands. The Republicans definitely have a very, very high chance of retaking the Senate just because the map is so favorable to begin with. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video, and I'll check you guys in the next one.